Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, today we're doing another manga review. We're looking at Chained Soldier, and we're looking at a specific arc here. So we're looking at chapters 45 to 51, which are known as the Chief's Assembly arc, or the Chief's Meeting arc, or the Leader arc, whatever you want to call it. But I think the Chief's Assembly arc is the correct way to call this. This story is created by Takahiro with art by Yohei Takamura, and he does a great job. I think that the artist here really makes the story shine a lot. The publisher is Yen Press. The demographic is shonen. I think this is technically supposed to be like a shonen Jump or Jump Plus title, but for whatever reason, Viz decided not to pick it up, and Yen Press did instead. And the genre here is action, as well as dark fantasy, and there really isn't too much else to it. That's basically all it is. I guess you could call this an ecchi story as well, because that is kind of a big deal, big part of it, but I usually don't include ecchi as its own genre, right? So yeah, in terms of adaptations, it does have one. I'm not really sure if it's good or not. I have not watched it, but I know that it is out there. And a rating for this arc is a 5 out of 5. I thought it was great. Although I would just say that usually, unless something really egregious is going to happen or happens while I'm reading, I would normally give a Chained Soldier 5 out of 5 because I just really enjoy reading this. And I think that the writer and the artist do a great job at really making sure that the story works. And plus the author's notes at the end really help you understand what the creator was going for and what he delivered, right? So it really makes it easy for me to just give this 5 out of 5 constantly, even if it's not necessarily like the greatest thing ever, right? All the time. I just really enjoy it. So yeah, let me tell you where this is located in the manga, and then we'll get started with the premise and stuff. So in volume 6, the story starts about halfway through with chapter 45, like I mentioned earlier. Let's see if I can give you the cover page. So it starts here with all of them having some family time and eating dinner together. Then it continues on through the rest of volume 6 and about the first third of volume 7, where it ends with the end of chapter 51 and the start of 52 right there. So, it's pretty cool that to finally get past that 50 chapter hump, right? And I think the story is at like 20 volumes maybe, or maybe like 14 or 15. So, we're chugging along pretty well. The premise here is that the leader of the Demon Corps, or the defense squads, right, has called the assembly. So Kyoka and Yuki must take a trip down to headquarters, which happens to be one of the bases that just that she belongs to, right? That the Demon Corps leader belongs to, right? So yeah, it opens up with squad number 7 enjoying dinner together. Shushu is planning to beat everyone to Yuki's love, because that's the whole point of this. Yuki, being just a nice guy, ends up kind of gathering himself a harem of all of these crazy, awesome, powerful girls, right? And Yuki and Himari are training together to try to make a new power-up for his ability, because stuff is going to happen with her family soon and she needs to have better abilities with him. And then we get the commander's meeting day, where Yuki is called in, even though he shouldn't have to go because he's not even part of the Demon Corps. He has to show up because the Supreme Commander demanded it. And so he goes there and meets all of the other captains. And I think it's really fun because they do a great job here at showing you all of the different captains and giving you a lot of detail about them as characters without really having too much time to it. So I think that the storytelling efficiency here is really on display, because the character design and some of the very basic dialogue that all of these characters have really gives you a clear understanding of all of these characters and who they are as people very, very quickly, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, we meet the Supreme Commander, who happens to actually look like Himari, even though she's not related to her. I thought she was supposed to be Himari's mom, but she just happens to look like your basic, pretty Japanese girl who happens to just be the type of character that Himari is as well. And yeah, so at this meeting, we get to see that the squad 1 leader steps down. She's an old lady, and she steps down for a new, young, up-and-coming karate girl that wants to be in charge, and she allows it. So we get this new leader, and then we get to see that the commanders can beat the gods, the 7 gods of destruction or whatever, the lightning gods, but they have to start practicing together so that they can use their abilities to the best effect whenever they end up meeting against these gods, because it has to be a joint battle, right? You can't have one team by itself fight all of the gods. You have to do all of them together, and the best way to do that is to start practicing their joint attacks so that they don't really end up stumbling when the final confrontation comes, right? So that's pretty cool. And so they got to start practicing together. We transition over to this attack that's happening. The Shuki army is attacking. All of the commanders quickly beat them. And then Ren, who is the commander of the whole squad, like the supreme leader, I guess you could call her, finds the culprits. It turns out it's 5 different, what are they called? Mato terrorists. They're 5 women from different countries that have infiltrated Mato and are trying to steal some fruits so that they can get the powers throughout the rest of the world, right? And she basically murders them all because they attack them, right? So yeah, then we come home back to Squad 7 space, and Shikoku sneaks in, and Shushu and Tenka drive her out. Now Shikoku is one of the 7 gods. She's like the one that has like the traditional Japanese clothing, and she sneaks in to try to kill Yuki because she's angry at him for existing, and Tenka and Shushu manage to drive her out. She initially puts them under a spell, then they manage to break out of it, and they hit her enough that she is forced to retreat because she doesn't want to cause a big scene. And then because of this, all of the squad decides to have a sleepover together where they all sleep in the same area to avoid having another situation like this for the foreseeable future, right? Then we wake up to the next day for training when Ren shows up, and she wants to use Yuki, but it kind of gets a bit tense here. Kyoka gets angry at Yuki for calling attention to himself, and the arc ends with her chastising him for it. So yeah, it was a pretty simple arc, right? It's mostly just to kind of get us through this interaction to really start kind of moving on to the story. But I had a lot of fun with the character development in this story. I think that the work done here was great. A lot of it was moving forwards. We get to see that Shushu is really serious about loving Yuki. We get to see that Himari is doing her best. We get to see Ren as the leader of the defense corps being a really badass and having a lot of strength to her that maybe makes her even a bit too OP compared to the 7 gods of destruction, right? So it's very, very interesting stuff. In terms of characters here, we get introduced to a bunch of them. So we get Konomi Tatara, who's the karate girl that I mentioned. She's earnest and well-meaning, and she's a bit of a ditz because that's just kind of that sort of character. And then we have Ren Myoga, I think, who's the old lady. She is the leader of Squad 1. She steps down so Konomi can take over. And she also happens to be the woman that trained Kyoka. And that's why Kyoka has so much strength, right? Because she was trained by this badass lady. And then we get to meet Mira Kaminten, who is your classic gangster biker girl. Very fun character. I like her a lot. Then we get Belle Tsukiyono, who is a timid, well-meaning girl, but just kind of ends up being a bit of a klutz. And then Yakumo Ezo, who is this kind of I don't know what to call her. I guess like she'd be like the girly lesbian type character, if that makes sense. And then we have Varvara Filamenko, who happens to be like a Russian ice queen type character. Fubuki Asuma, who is the MILF character. She is Himari's mother, and she doesn't look like you would expect Himari's mother to look. She looks quite different, and she is the current leader of the Asuma family, or close to the current leader of the Asuma family. It's kind of unclear. And then we have Gen Yamashiro, who happens to be your classical Japanese beauty, who happens to be a bit of a hard ass because she's just like naturally gifted, and she takes her job very seriously. So she would be like the president of the high school, what's it called, the student body, if this was like a high school anime, right? It's kind of that kind of concept. And they're all really great. I really like how efficient it was at teaching us all of these character traits very simply. In terms of world building, we just get introduced to the commanders, we get introduced to the idea of Mato terrorism, and we learn that Mato and Mato powers only exist in Japan, with a few special people across the world getting access to it because the portal only opens in Japan. And that's pretty interesting. I think that's cool, but it severely limits the amount of people that could be introduced, right? I mean, sure, you get a bunch of cool Japanese characters, but I feel like a lot of times these action-oriented manga kind of win a bit or have a little bit of extra sauce to them if they introduce characters from other countries, right? And maybe that affects their powers, right? So we'll see how that works. But yeah, not too much in terms of world building there. In terms of artwork and fan service, of course, the artwork is awesome, and the fan service is phenomenal because that's basically the point of this story. Himari and Yakumo are kind of the key characters for fan service in this arc, and they do quite a good job here. You know, you could argue that there's some issues with the way that Yakumo interacts, right? Because she does it with like a playful attitude, but without the consent of the other characters, and they find themselves angry at her sometimes, but it kind of is played off as a gag, and so there is some issues with that, right? In like from a Western perspective, you might have problems with it, but remember that this is supposed to be a comedy, and these elements are supposed to be there for fun, not to really make you upset about them, right? So yeah, ratings wise is a 5 out of 5. I think it did everything perfectly, and I really appreciate the character work that was done here a lot. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Chain Soldier, arc number, I guess it would be like 7 or something like that. I can't remember what number I gave it last time, but yeah, the Chief's Assembly arc. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.